So in this video, let's consider how successful thinking has been in terms of solving the problems in the world. And let's start off with what's called the overconfidence effect. And this is when we think about our performance. And so 94% of professors believe they're above average in terms of their performance. Only 6% of high school seniors believe that their athletic ability is below average, and only 2% think that their leadership ability is below average. And of course, that should be 50%. And so there are two issues with thinking. One is that thinking serves the ego, the self, and you can see that in these self-evaluations. But another is that it also evaluates its own performance. This is like asking a politician how well they're doing at their job. I mean, if you ever watched a politician say that I messed up and I'm not really doing a very good job. I mean, they're always doing an amazing job. And so when we think about how thinking solves problems, we can even go back to the pandemic. When this first hit, what was the thinking mind's first thought? Let's go buy lots of toilet paper. And, now that we have the benefit to reflect on this, was that really such an amazing insight in terms of solving the problem? Well, let me talk about a study. I'll put the link in the reference, but they looked at handball players. And so these are people who had some experience with what they were doing. And everyone watched a video, about 10 seconds of a play in action. They'd stop the video, and then one player has the ball, and they'd ask, well, what should the next play be? And their first response was intuitive, just right from the gut. Then they were told to think different scenarios and, come up with 4 different thoughts about what they might do. And the interesting thing is their instinctual response was always the best. And in fact, the more they thought about it, the worse their scenarios became. And when we consider all across the globe, we've got these bureaucracies called countries, and they throw so much money trying to solve problems like homelessness and poverty, crime. And where does it really go? Have they been successful by thinking and wearing suits? Well, let's actually just consider California. So the data on this varies a little bit, but I think this is generally accurate. And so over the last 5 years, California has spent over $20 billion trying to solve the problem of homelessness. And during that same time, the homeless problem went from 100,000 people who are homeless to 200,000 people. If the math is right, you could have just not thought about it at all and just gave each individual $100,000. And so when it comes to thinking, we've got at least over 300 documented thinking errors. And when it comes down to it, thinking is good under very limited situations that serve the ego. And so we're good at crossword puzzles if we think it out. We're good at chess. We're good at strategies that defeat the quote enemy, because that's what the thinking process evolved to protect the ego. And we can look around and we could say, well, look at all this technology and we're really quite advanced as a species. Don't we, or shouldn't we, attribute this to the thinking mind? Well, we can look at all kinds of discoveries in science, from X-rays to antibiotics to microwaves, and these were not the result of thinking. They were the outcome of mindful observation, of consciousness, being in the here and now and noticing something interesting in the real world.